Well, welcome everyone. I want to reflect on how living with intention was created. And my intention, no pun intended, was to encompass all facets to promote well-being. Our mental health depends on how well we're able to bounce back from life's challenges. And really connecting to others for support is crucial to balance and regulate our mental states. And it's important to understand that we are not alone, from loved ones that surround us, friends, and our connection to spirit, source, God, whomever your higher power is. Because what we fail to realize is that we have more support on an energetic level than the physical. Remember, our energy from thoughts and feelings and expressions contribute to how well we connect with others, which also includes our spiritual level. And when I say that, we are never alone from our thoughts, of course. They're constant, right? And we have these feelings. And others I'm also talking about is through our higher power again. And through this series, when I say that higher power, God, divine, whomever you believe in, but we're going to use the word spirit. Okay. So during my life's journey, I just want to share this with you. I've had numerous experiences when spirit was speaking to me. In fact, last month, I was visiting the island I grew up on, and I was feeling a lot of love and joy and appreciation. And I just had a really strong connection. I could feel that with my friends and family. And while I was on the south end of the island, I was visiting with some friends, and we decided to drive through a local coffee shack, which there are so many up there in the Pacific Northwest. It's crazy, these little coffee shacks. And on the outside of the order window, sitting on a shelf, was a mug. And the inscription on it said, "You are my sunshine." And my heart just leapt with joy and gratitude and love. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, here is the mug. I hope you can see that. I know my background is blurred. And the reason why I responded that way is because my mother used to sing, "You are my sunshine" to me up until she passed when I was 30. And when I saw that mug, I immediately knew she was with me, showing me a sign of love and encouragement and praise, and which just, again, filled my heart with joy and appreciation, knowing that she's always there for me. This is one of the numerous accounts in my life when I've witnessed when spirit was speaking to me. So my question is, how about you? Do you have moments when you feel a presence, see a sign such as a bird or a feather or pennies or other items that remind you of your loved ones? Or maybe it's a song on the radio that plays when you least expect it, that provides encouragement. Or maybe you could have a thought that came up about something, and that same day or the next, someone talks about it, or you read something about it of exactly what you were thinking. You know, I believe that there is no coincidences, that we are all connected. And when we start to see it, feel it, and trust it, you can connect to spirit more easily. So in this series, I'm here to bring forward just a few of the many who have had experiences working with spirit. And they're here to provide a better understanding of how spirit supports us and offers guidance on ways to connect, so that you're more aware when spirit is speaking to you on your journey. And my first guest here is Marcia. I've had the pleasure of working with Marcia over the last 2 years. And Marcia is a psychic medium, intuitive advisor, and a spiritual guide. With her gifts, she channels messages of empowerment as she connects with spirits of loved ones past, providing much needed messages of love, guidance, and healing. These channeled messages serve those who need support in their lives and offer a different perspective for understanding our true connection to spirit. And as always, the abundant answers that we already have within ourselves. This fosters growth and awareness of how spirit connects us all. So again, working with Marcia, just to give you a little insight, I saw her in 2020, and she had mentioned something about, oh, you're selling your home and you're traveling. And I really hadn't shared that with anyone else. And so knowing that Spirit was very excited about this opportunity coming up, right? And that they came through, that was one of the first things for me. And so then that kind of gave me a little bit more ease about going through the transition. That's a huge transition. And when it came time to sell our home in 2021, it was seamless. By the time we contacted a realtor to the time we sold and signed the paperwork, 3 months. That was it. And so I knew that Spirit was there supporting me. I did have little questions, right? The mind's going to say, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get through all this stuff? And when is this going to be all done? But I was able to pause and just say, okay, I'm going to trust and know in this process. And that's how I was able to ease through that. Yes. So it's wonderful to have a support person just like Marsha to help connect us and help navigate us through uncertain times in our lives. So without further ado, I want to welcome Marsha to our community. Welcome, Marsha. It's so good to have you here.
April, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity. I am excited, and you are absolutely correct. It's all about, I think my position or my, I don't know, you can call it purpose, is so much about helping people to trust their own guidance system. And I feel like with you, I mean, not that you didn't anyway, but giving you just that tidbit of spirit saying, yes, this is what you're supposed to be doing, was very helpful to the process, right? So I have so much fun doing, just giving people that little bit of encouragement. And then thereafter that, you were able to continue to trust what it is that you were getting yourself.
Yes,
So,
most definitely.
yes.
It's just nice to know that there's that extra support, something bigger than me that was there. So before we continue on, because there's so much stuff I want to talk about and unpack, it's so exciting. Can you share a little bit about yourself for those who are not familiar with you and about your journey working with spirit?
Absolutely. Where do I start? Well, okay, I'm going to start with, a lot of psychic mediums, intuitives have this initial story of how they always knew that they were, that they had a gift and stuff like that. But for me, it was, I always understood that I was sensitive, but I didn't quite understand that everybody wasn't sensitive in the same way, which, by the way, I do feel like we all are. It's just that I think I've really practiced honing in on this ability. It was something that I found out later on, generational, that my grandmothers also had this ability. So it was interesting to find that out after I'd already kind of figured it out for myself. But I will start with back about a little over 20 years ago, just a random person I didn't even know that well said, here's a book that you need to read. I want to give it to you. And I was like, okay. And it was Adventures of a Psychic by Sylvia Brown. And as
Oh,
I, yeah. And you remember her? She's from, she was on Montel on Wednesdays.
yes.
Yeah. So I loved catching up and watching that. But so I was like, yes, I want to read this book. It looks interesting. I've always been interested in the metaphysical. Always. It was always attracted to it, always wanting to know more about, the other side and ghosts and the paranormal. That was always something that kind of intrigued me. So I read this book, and as I'm reading it, I'm reading about Sylvia Brown's journey into kind of discovering her own abilities.
Mm.
And I realized I have a lot of those abilities myself. So I, just decided that I was going to take some time to really hone in on my intuition. And how do you do that? Well, back in the day, there were chat rooms that you could go into that were to practice your intuition. And
Oh,
so, yeah, I know, like that. You remember back in the day when there were, anyway, uh, that kind of dates me, doesn't it? Anyway, so I would be reading for somebody maybe over in England or I don't know, somewhere else. And I would say, you have a blue shirt, blonde hair, and just really start
mm.
trusting those tiny little like feelings. And for me, by the way, I think everybody's intuitive, or they pick up the messages. Sometimes everybody's different. It's just like anything else. But for me, I hear things, see things, feel things, know things, smell things. But they're all within my mind. I rarely see things with my physical eye. And if I do, it's just like little sparkles of light.
Mhm.
I don't actually see the person who's passed on physically. Maybe spirit did that on purpose, because I don't know if I could handle that. If I could handle
Yes.
it. I don't hear them. It's almost, when I hear them, it is like a song that you have stuck in your head, like
Mm.
that kind of hearing. Yeah. So either way, I really started to hone in on that, but it took me a really long time, even after that, to actually use it. I knew it was there,
Yeah.
but it wasn't something that I felt like, what good's this gonna do? I mean, I need to have like a regular job and like pay the bills. And well, it wasn't as accepted as it is now.
Mm. Yeah.
So I would fast forward about, I don't know, almost 10 years, not quite 10 years, maybe 5 to 6 years. And I met my best friend, who was now my best friend. We both worked at a rehab center for teenagers. So she worked night shift, and I saw she was reading a book by Sylvia Brown. I was like, oh, I like this girl already.
Yeah.
And yeah, we went out to coffee, and all of a sudden I feel her grandfather's spirit like right next to me, like, tell her I'm here, tell her I'm here, tell her I'm here.
Oh,
Yeah. And I'm like, I know she's, believes in all this stuff, but I don't know if I should. I don't know. I was very hesitant. But anyway,
mm.
her grandfather was very persistent. So he's like, tell her I'm here. I'm like, okay. And so I said to her over my cup of coffee, I'm like, okay, I feel like your grandfather's here. He has white hair, bib overalls, kind of a little bit of a belly. I think maybe his name starts with an F. And she looked at me and she said, that's my grandpa Fred. He's a farmer. Yes,
Oh,
big overalls. He's like, oh my God. She was so shocked and surprised. So that was very interesting. And a few other people came through. I mean, so it's just amazing little, situation. And she became my biggest fan. And
I bet.
yeah, so a few weeks later, or a little bit after that, her other grandfather had passed away. And she called me to tell me. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And then I just kind of see if he had any messages. And I said, oh, well, he wants you to know he's fishing with his brother. And she goes, no, that grandpa didn't fish. And I said, well, I don't know. That's just what I heard. So she went to the funeral, and on the program, She's reading through it, and then she looked at the bottom and it said, "We hope you're fishing with your brother."
Oh, yes.
She called me right away. She's like, "I had no idea. I didn't even know he fished, you know." And so that was even more of a confirmation. And
Yeah. As I was listening to you, it sounded like at first you were like, no, yeah, let's just check it out and see. And then when you
mhm,
got more familiar, more comfortable of sharing, of
mhm,
witnessing that this is part of you,
right. And
right?
it
And
was
you can't
innately.
turn it off. You can't.
Not really. You can turn what I tell people, because they ask, they're like, "Are you always bothered?" And I said, "Well, you know what? I can't turn it off. I can turn it down, but
Yeah.
I wasn't always able to turn it down. That kind of took some time to
Yes,
figure out. Does that make sense? Um,
exactly. It so does. Yes.
and
Yeah.
so after that, actually, I was going through a divorce at the time. My mom had just passed away. It was a pretty hard time in my life. And so she would come over at night and she would have a cup of tea with me, or whatnot. And she started bringing her people, her friends with her. She's like, "Do that thing that you do, do that thing, and do that thing for them." So I
This is
started
your
reading for
friend? Your
people.
friend came over?
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Correct. Yep. She would come over and she started bringing people with her, like her friends.
Okay.
And so I started reading for others, but it wasn't really, I didn't consider it reading. I was just, just doing that thing that I do, right? I don't know. Anyway, so it was a lot of fun, because I was able to see these people like connect, and then just have that piece of aha,
Mhm.
or that if they needed closure, or you see what I'm saying? Things like that.
Yes.
It was just so amazing to be able to, I really started to feel, because I'm a giver anyway. You see, I was in the social work realm. So, I mean,
Mm.
I work with people and I help people. That's just who I am. And so doing this was an amazing, a start to the process of where I am now. So after that, um, I actually decided I was going to work on my master's degree. I worked on my master's in public administration. I wanted to open my own nonprofit. That was the goal.
Mm.
So yes, I was doing this beautiful thing and helping people with readings, but I'm a Capricorn. So I'm super practical, and I'm like, okay, you are too. Yeah. So I'm like, no, we're gonna, we need to be stable. We need to have, anyway. So it still was kind of like something I kind of just did for fun, you know.
Yes.
And as I was actually working on my thesis, my friend Stephanie, the one who has pushed me into all of this so far, she said, "I'll help you, edit your thesis. Come on over, we'll spend some time." So I went over to her house in Omaha, and we were all done. A few more things to wrap up. She says, "Well, guess what? I also have something else planned for you." And I said, "Okay." She said, "You're going to do a group reading." I said, "You now what?" She's like, "No, you need to get yourself out there. We're going to have you do a group reading." I said, "Okay." So I went over to her sister-in-law's house, and there were 20 people for the
Wow.
group reading. I was like, "Oh my gosh." So I actually went upstairs. I said, "I need a minute." I went upstairs. I prayed to the Lord, to God, source, whatever you want, spirit. And I said, "Help me to be able to give messages, meaningful messages to these people that they need today, and help me to be able to sort out each energy." Because that's what I was really worried about, like not only being able to deliver the message, but now these people are going to pay me to deliver the message. When you add money to any kind of it's so much more pressure. Not that I didn't want to get it right anyway. It's just wanting, adding that on was it was definitely a mountain that I had to climb and say, "You know what, I'm worthy and I deserve
Yes.
it."
You
And
are worthy.
that was huge. That was a huge pivotal moment. Actually, so I read for every single person at that group that night. That's even now, that was in 2015. Even now, that's still a lot of people.
Yes.
So,
And
and after that reading, my life has
that
never been the same.
that is it's wonderful that you had the courage and that you asked for support.
I
You know,
did.
we always have that support. And people think that in any situation when we're overwhelmed or we have uncertainty or anything of
Mhm.
that nature, our minds kind of take over and start to tell us what we can't do and all of
Right.
that. And by you pausing, saying, I need a moment, and you connecting and asking for guidance and helps to give you that courage, and know that you have that support, and just allow things to come through.
I wouldn't have, I don't think I would have been able to do it if I hadn't taken that moment, because I was able to set my ego aside and really put all my faith in spirit, because spirit's the one that ran, they're the ones that did amazing that night. I mean, yes, I was a medium and I was there to hold that space and it was
Yes.
wonderful, but spirit really made it miraculously. I mean, like just, and I was able to help so many people. And it's just, it was such a win, honestly.
Yes.
After that group reading, well, the referrals started coming
Oh, of
and they
course.
started coming, and I started actually doing readings on nights and weekends. Like, and I had still my full-time job. And I continued to do that for several years. In 2019, kind of came to a crossroads where I was like, something's going to change. I had two teenagers at home, a 2-year-old, and a full-time job, and a part-time, nights and weekends. And it was just a lot. It was finding that balance and saying, you know what, I am worthy of having balance and having time for myself, and being able to serve others in the most appropriate manner, and which feels best to my heart, following my heart, following my,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
so I quit my job and I just started doing readings. I remember thinking, gee, I sure hope I have enough to be able to, pay my bills. So that was the first thought, was, oh gosh, am I going to make it? Is this going to work? Yeah. Well, I'm still doing it. So
So it
gosh,
is.
it's
Yeah.
working.
It's
Yeah.
and it's because you are open to it. Like you said, your heart followed your
Mm-hmm.
heart. Hey, we're always going to have that mind that questions, but I love how you were, again, that courage and dedication and being of service.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is why I do what I do too on different levels. Is I want people to know that there's more than what their mind tells them
Mm-hmm.
there is.
Exactly. Yep.
And as you shared your story, Marcia, uh, it sounded like you kind of built, um, I want to say that working with energy, working with spirit, that type of thing, it's more of, for me, that is, it's more of finding that neutral place within myself. So I'm out of my head. And then kind of, it's like a muscle, right? The more
Mm-hmm.
I use
It
it, the
is.
more attention, as I always talk about, putting my attention on my intention. My attention is, how am I connecting right now? Where am
Yep.
I?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then my intention is to connect with spirit and all of that. So would you say that's true for you too? Is it's like a muscle, and the more that you tune into it and the more you trust, that you can connect to it easier?
Yes, it's absolutely. I always tell people it's just like if you have the ability to be a great athlete,
Mm.
but you don't practice and you don't, hone in on your skill by exercising your body and your muscles, the harder it is for you to really be that excellent athlete, because you already have that ability. It's just how
Yeah.
you're built. So being that this is, part of our, I think, strength or design, I should say, it using your muscle and using your practicing is one of the keys to really being able to utilize a gift like this, which, by the way, I almost feel like almost every single person I read for, no, I shouldn't say almost, every single person that I read for has this ability. And it may not look the same or come in the same package, but
Mm.
everybody has the ability to follow their heart and their truth, and intuition is how we're built, is how we are all designed. We can use that in different ways, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. It so does. And
Mhm.
intuition can look like, as you shared, you said very quickly in the beginning, how you either hear, you smell, in your mind's eye, you see things. So just for people to understand, to follow it, to trust it, is important.
It's the biggest piece, and without the trust, you can't follow through. Trusting is the first step, I believe.
Yeah.
One of the first steps, I should say. Obviously, you have to. I have a book here by Deepak Chopra. I don't know if I said that right. The Seven Spiritual Laws of Success. And he says quieting the mind and trusting is very key to be able to understand your pure potential. So,
Yeah.
yes,
And it's
absolutely.
also, I see it as building a relationship too with
Hmm.
spirit.
Yes. And by the way, spirit is now saying in my head, they're like, you already have the relationship. It's recognizing it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. That relationship has been there before you were born. You had a soul contract in which you agreed to, your design. And maybe I'm going into a different subject here, but being able to know your life purpose. I think we have more than one purpose,
Yes.
to be honest, but being able to understand your spiritual design and how you're designed, how you wanted to show up in this world. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And
You
that's for all of our listeners right now,
Yes,
is
yes.
to
And
hear
so,
that. Yeah.
mhm. And honestly, spirit's got your back. I always say that. I feel like I'm saying that all the time. I feel like when I have a message, that always seems to be the absolute general part of it is. And I liked how you said in the beginning that you have more spiritual support than you have physical support here on earth. Like, honestly, I feel like when I'm reading for people, I feel like there's this big, huge tribe or team, like standing there, like, we're here, utilize us, use us, ask us, like, involve us more, or
Yes.
at least recognize that involvement. Do you see what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's when you can get to that point, when you can understand and you can have the faith that's required to have that forward movement, you're good. It's good. You're taken care of. I've been saying this a lot to spirit lately, or to my clients lately, is that, what we tend to, uh, we've almost been programmed to have a fear-based thought, before we are to have a faith-based thought. And it is time to take ego and fear and understand that is your mind, that is your
Mm-hmm.
brain trying to help you to survive. But your heart,
Yes.
your heart is here to lead you with your desires and your
Mm-hmm.
intentions. And yes, you pay attention to your intention, and that will lead you towards exactly what spirit, what your higher self. Now, for those who don't understand higher self, I don't know. You want me to explain, or you want to explain, what exactly that means?
You can go ahead, please.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So to me, our souls are too big to fit entirely just only into our human form. There's still a part of us that resides on the other side. There's still a part of us that is purely connected to source, to God, to however you want to call it. That is our higher self. That is our connectivity. That is us. As we are all one, it is source. And so our higher self is just that stream of consciousness which resides within us, and also without of us within
Yes.
the other side, or however you want to put it. Does that make sense? I
Yes.
explained that all right? That was
Yes.
okay. So,
Yeah. And
it's
I always say in my podcast, I've talked about the stone soup of collective consciousness. So
mhm,
each
mhm,
individual person has their own essence that are contributing to this stone soup of the greater good, of the collective consciousness.
mhm,
And
mhm.
I didn't go deep before about that because I didn't talk about spirit yet in these podcasts. So I'm glad that you're bringing that up. So as we're even sitting here, it doesn't matter when you listen or view this video, you're still receiving, you're still connected to that energy. And you and us are contributing to that collective consciousness as we're
Right.
here. So I'm glad that you
Yes.
brought that up, Marcia, about a higher self and always being connected to source, spirit, universe, God, whomever your higher power you believe
For
to
sure.
have. Yeah.
Yeah. And so your higher self is always going to trying to guide you to that path in which you're in alignment with. And so choosing that path, you may have different obstacles or options available to you, which is all a part of our journey here. I mean,
Mhm.
we are here to live, learn, and grow from our experiences and help others to do the same.
Yes.
That's what I
That's all we
always
can
say.
take with us is our experiences. We can't
Exactly.
take anything else with us.
When I have asked
Mm.
spirit, what the heck are we here for? What is why? And it always comes back like, because you're here to experience and you're here to have that emotion. It feels like almost when we are not in human form, when we are residing, elsewhere. I say elsewhere because there's more place. It gets complicated.
That'll be another podcast.
Yeah, that's right. We tend to not have as much of an emotional connection because we are in such purity and such goodness, right?
Yes.
It's almost like I try to explain to people, you could read an entire book or series or library full of books on Italy. You could learn every little tiny thing about Italy, and you could know so much. And that's how it is when you're on their side. Okay. But when you go to Italy
Yes.
and experience Italy, it is a different feeling. It is a different experience, you see, because I can tell you what pasta, what spaghetti, what pizza, I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying? I could tell you
Yes.
what all of these things or what these beautiful places in Italy look like, but until you actually go there, if you go there and you can smell the sea or you can smell whatever. I haven't been to Italy, so this is a really terrible example.
Maybe you will.
I really feel like I was just in Germany, and I guess I could use Germany as an example. Until you taste that bread, and then until you taste all of the foods, and you walk through those castles, and you walk on those old streets, and you smell the air, and you're greeted by the people, you don't know what it's like. You don't understand the whole entirety of the whole experience. So coming to
Yes.
Earth is part of us experiencing all of those things. And
Yes.
that is the beauty.
Exactly.
And yes, it comes with contrast. And yes, it comes with things that aren't so good. Of course, the spirit is also, those are kind of put in there because otherwise you wouldn't really know what good is if that's all you ever had. You have to have the contrast in order to
Yes.
really understand and to experience and have all the range of emotions and to help you
Hmm.
navigate back to your trueness. That's a whole goal. That's what I enjoy.
Exactly. I
Yes.
completely agree with that. So,
Mhm.
my next question for you, Marcia, is for those who kind of get a little hung up with religious aspects and working with spirit, what guidance or what advice or insights do you have about when people are kind of looking at the dualism of that?
Sure. I want to go back to our interconnectedness and how we're all connected. Because there is the difference in religions and things here on earth. I do feel like on the other side, you can choose what you want your heaven to be like.
Mm.
And I don't feel like the thing is they show me is that nobody's beliefs are wrong, that there is no such really, really good thing, such thing as bad or good, or it all just is. And
Mm.
so therefore, as far as religion goes, I feel like what they've shown me is if it is in the intentions are love, then
Mm.
love is pure, and love is it can go through each and every one of these religions. And And that is the basis of what any of the teachers have shown us, whether it be, Jesus or Abraham or any of those individuals. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
They're all about walking the path of truth and love and unconditional love and non-judgment. And so that's kind of where I've been led when it comes to religion. I know that when I started out with Sylvia Brown, I really enjoyed her because she actually studied all religions and grew up and went to Catholic school, and she has an agnostic point of view, and
Mm.
I do enjoy just how she explained all of that. And to me, it doesn't matter what religion you are. I think just as long as you understand that we have to love thy neighbor, or we have to
Mhm.
be all encompassing when it comes to accepting people for where they're at. If that makes sense to you. So
Yes, yes, again, 100%.
mm,
I just actually had a conversation in the last series of Shifting from Surviving to Thriving with Andrew Griffin. And he has a more of an omonistic approach too about religions. And it just boils down to love and do unto others as you do unto yourself. And um, it's just kind of a different language. Each religion is, we have languages,
mhm,
you know,
mhm. Yes.
French say love one way, Italians say love one way, Japanese,
Mhm.
English, but
Mhm.
it's all the same meaning.
Exactly. I love
So
that. Mhm.
yeah, so that really solidifies that here. So thank you for bringing that in as
Well,
well.
absolutely. And also, I think that it's important, as you were saying, that Spirit was saying, you have to take almost a lesson from nature and be more as like nature, and the way that the way we think, as to just be. There is no competition. One blade of grass does not yell at the other blade of grass for growing. They all grow together. Do you see what I'm saying? So
Yes.
nature it is, if you have any questions, a lot of times it's just look to nature. What is nature doing? Yeah. I don't know if that's just what came to me when you said that. So
Yes, I'm definitely guided by nature with my travels. I appreciate the landscape wherever I'm at
mm-hmm,
and see the beauty, even in the desert. Somebody might say it was so hot and there's nothing there. There's, no green. Well, there is. There's more to it than that meets
mm-hmm,
the eye.
mm-hmm.
The sunsets here are phenomenal in
Mm,
Arizona,
I bet.
and just being in the presence of the cacti and hearing the birds, and we have wild burros around here. um, hearing them hee-hawing in the morning and the evening is pretty cool. So just appreciating the beauty of life, and how nature shows that about the cycles,
Right.
and letting go and growing, and yeah,
Mm,
just really learning more about yourself. That's what we're here for. I think that's what
right.
spirit really wants us to do, is to, as I say, in is out, right? You go in to
Mm-hmm,
find the way out,
mm-hmm,
to
mm-hmm.
find those answers.
For sure. And you have to also, as you'd said, something about the seasons changing. And we talked about, I don't know if this was when we were on air or not, but it's beautiful in Iowa right now, like with the leaves are changing and things like that. But you have to enjoy the season also in Arizona, and respecting and honoring those seasons wherever you are. Yeah. So that's also a good thing, because things are dying, but things are going to be growing again. So yeah.
Yes, that's what life's all about, is rebirthing,
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
rebirthing parts of yourself, and unlearning old beliefs and learning new. And I've really gotten a lot of messages about that, when I've been on my walks, and, just feathers along the way. And I'm like, look, another feather. My husband looks at it and says, "You're going to pick that up?" And I said, "I sure am."
Oh, that's funny.
This is spirit acknowledging and validating what I
Yes.
was just thinking about, how I was feeling in that moment.
Hmm.
Just seeing those little signs and knowing that I am not alone.
Oh
We
gosh,
always
yes.
have that when we're open to see it. And that's another
Mhm.
thing I really want to bring everybody back to. And I say this in my podcasts all the time about when you're open with curiosity and not in that judging mode, as Marcia, you said, through your heart space, then you're more receptive. Then it's easier to connect with spirit. It's easier to see those signs because not in the fight or flight and the ego head of survival and got to do this, I got to get to work, and I got to go to the grocery store. And, we all have these tasks. We have these things that we need to do in order to feel comfortable. Although there are moments when you relax in those spaces, when you see a sign that has a word on it that says calm or joy or something. It's like little things are coming in to remind us, relax, it's okay. you know
Oh, yes.
yeah.
I have a. It was funny. I was really angry about something. I usually am pretty chill and I'm in alignment, but this day I don't know. Something's just bothering me, and I just, you know what? License plates are amazing because I think I get a lot of signs through license plates. Now, sometimes, you guys, I want you to know, being how I am, I still see my signs and things same way y'all do, because it doesn't, when your own emotions are involved, it does take a little bit more concentration to be able to understand those signs. When I read for other people, those things just come to me easier. Like, I can't explain it to you, but it's just boom, boom, boom. They all are just there. So I think it's because my own emotions not involved.
Mm.
I pull up to the stoplight. There are two cars in front of me. One says be nice, and the other one says find joy. And I'm like, oh wow. Okay. Thanks for that. Like, that could have happened. Like, you know what I mean? That was obviously a sign for me to just calm down, be nice, give this person that I was upset with love and unconditional love and understanding, step
Oh,
out of
yes.
my own ego space and just be, and find joy in things that I do love. That was a big thing. But yeah, it was it was an interesting side for sure.
Yes. And I find also laughing at myself, just like, you know, okay, whatever that was, how am I going to kind of shift this a little bit? And
Hmm.
and that's why nature is so important to me, just being outside and listening to birds. And that just brings us right back because
Hmm.
we are animals,
Yes. Yep.
and nature is how God speaks, spirit speaks through nature.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so when we're connecting and being in that presence, and then we go back in our house, something else happens, we're just human too. We're having these experiences. So
Absolutely.
not to be so
Absolutely.
hard on ourselves and just laughing. I just laugh at myself now. It's like, really?
Honestly, laughter is the best medicine. But you bring up a good point, because I am often telling myself this and telling my clients this. We just need to be less. We cannot be so judgmental on ourselves, because that's almost where it also becomes harder to follow your intuition when you're
Mm,
always beating yourself up. You have to give yourself grace. Meet yourself where you're
mm.
at. Recognize and honor the exact position that you're in. I have always been really hard on myself. I'm going to give you an example on the regards to my house. the cleanliness or the level of cleanliness, because my mother was very particular and very clean. I mean, and so I'm always like, this isn't good. I just threw a birthday party for my daughter. She just turned 5. And this year was the first year that I actually enjoyed the party. I actually was a part of the party. I actually let
Oh,
myself be present in the party. I ate.
yeah.
You know how you have a party and you forget to eat because you're just, I ate. It I cleaned the house. I mean, obviously I actually delegated. My husband did a lot of it, which why hadn't I thought about that before? Anyway, I and it was an amazing I don't know, feat for me, because I never gave myself the ability or the space to really say, you know what, it's okay if
Mm.
everything's not perfect. People are here to enjoy my daughter and the family, and it's not. I didn't care that, I got ready. Usually I'm like, oh gosh, what am I gonna wear? I gotta be, and it didn't matter. None of that matters. I mean, only to us. And I'm
Yes.
not saying, actually it turned out better. And when I put less pressure on myself, I felt like everything turned out so perfectly. There was enough food, there was more than enough
Oh,
food, there
beautiful.
was enough space. I was worried we weren't, anyway, it all worked out. And that's because if I had held on to it, and if I had been so hard on myself, it would have been so much more stressful and I wouldn't have been able to enjoy it.
Yes.
So
Yes. And it's that kind of let go, let God, just,
yes. Mhm.
is this really going to matter, you know, the next day,
Mhm.
really,
Right.
and just letting go and just even talking to spirit or even a past loved one, like my mother passing, and just say,
Yes.
okay, mom, I could really use some help right now, just kind of bringing me into center,
Yes.
filling my heart with love and
Mhm.
appreciation for this event, for the where I'm at, what I'm doing, instead
Mhm.
of the mind being in the driver's seat of what's not going right and how
Yes.
things have to be and all those things. I completely understand what you're saying there, Marcia, about that. And then
Mhm.
I find myself pausing, laughing, like, really, it's not going to matter. Um, and our kids don't even know, they're off playing somewhere doing whatever.
Right. Mhm.
It's really us putting that pressure on ourselves, and spirit's there to say, lighten up, relax, have
Yeah.
fun. This is joyous
It's the first time I
occasions.
really listened in that in a birthday and a party or anything. That's the first time I listened to spirit. I feel like they've been saying it all along, but I really listened. It's amazing.
Yes,
Oh.
great. Yes,
Mhm.
that's really good advice. Really good
Yes.
advice.
Yes, I
Yeah.
feel like it's going to be, I mean, people that need a, even if it is, this is another part though, people will beat themselves up over past things. And looking back at the past, you need to just look at that like, you know what, that was the learning experience. What am I going to take from it that's going to be helpful in this present moment? And, maybe in the future, but really we should live in the present moment as much as we possibly can, because
Yeah.
that's the only moment we're actually living right at this moment. Do you see them? You can't
Yes.
worry really a lot about the future. Obviously you can live, I think, living out of, instead of living out of obligation, we should live out of
Mm.
inspiration. We should be
Oh,
inspired.
say that again,
I,
Marcia.
s- instead of living out of obligation, live out of inspiration.
Ah, that
Mhm.
is perfect.
Mhm. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. And that's
Mhm.
that's when we're in the present, however you can get there, whether it's meditation, whether it's going out and walks, you know,
Mhm.
um, even connecting with loved ones, you know, being with people that bring you joy, that
Mhm.
opens your heart, and spirit is there encouraging and supporting you in those moments. So that's why we feel lighter, that's why we feel open, and we feel joyous and feel that love, that overwhelming appreciation and gratitude, because then that's when we know when we're connected to spirit. At least that's how I
Absolutely.
know.
Mhm.
And then when you're not, well, then it's complete opposite, right?
Mhm.
It's
Exactly.
that lower, heavy, or tight achiness, that type of thing. And your body's
Mhm.
letting you know,
This
hey,
is, Yeah.
I can only hold so much for you.
Right.
Need to let that go.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And that's what
Very
will
good.
cause illness. So it's definitely
Yes.
best to not hold on to. It's obviously you have to process, you need to feel your emotions, but you need to also be able to work through them and not hold, like April, the tightness made sense to me, because when you get
Mhm.
tight like that, then you know that you need to express that in some way. You need to be able to move
Yes.
that through. Some people do it through exercise, or like you said,
Yes.
going on a walk. Really just let spirit take over and navigate you in those moments. And I know that that can be difficult sometimes, but like you said, April, if you could take a moment to kind of almost quiet your mind. Now, maybe people don't
Mhm.
meditate in normal ways, like normal ways. When I say normal ways, I mean sitting there with your legs crossed saying om. That may not be your meditation
No.
style.
Yeah.
Going on a walk might be it. Maybe it's coloring
Yes.
a with in your adult coloring book. Maybe it's doing the dishes, maybe it's showering, maybe it could be anything where it is where your mind is just not going a million miles a minute. That's what it is.
Yes.
um
Yes.
I also wanted to bring up one other point, is that you also need to be paying attention not only to nature, but also, sometimes people will say things to you that maybe a loved one would say, or maybe a stranger just says this one phrase, and you're like, oh my goodness, that was my mom, or that was my dad, or however it is. But children are also a very good gateway
Mm.
or to the other side. My little one, she honestly very often, yesterday as I was getting, or I mean not, it was Sunday when I was getting ready for her party, and she picked up a quarter and she picked up a penny, which are my mom and dad's signs, one of their signs for being around. And she goes, look, mom, it's your mom and it's your dad. And I was like,
Oh,
so that was them saying happy birthday to her. I mean, isn't that
yes.
amazing? Like, she was able to pick that up. She's done some other amazing things in the car. Right
Mhm.
after my dad died, we're driving and she goes, hey, mommy, grandpa loves you. He wants you to know that. It's just
Oh,
amazing. She's very gifted too. There's other incidences, but those are maybe for another time as well. But
yes.
really honestly, so keep a hold of those types of, make sure you're paying attention to
Mhm.
what other people are saying, and what your animals are doing. Sometimes they'll do some funny things where maybe they're looking off in a corner
Yes.
or acting like there's somebody there. And well, typically there is somebody there. And
Yeah.
a lot of times it is your loved ones that are just dropping in to say hello.
And to
Um,
add to that, I want people to understand not to get freaked out over that
no.
either,
Mhm.
because they are love, joy, appreciation. They're there to support you.
Mhm.
And it's spirit is here on that level, on the
Exactly.
highest vibration and pure unconditional love and light. And they have really good humor
Yes.
things and all of that. So yeah, where your attention goes, energy flows. So whatever you're looking for, whatever you're focusing on, that's what you're going to receive more of on an energetic level, and also our own perceptions of what we're looking for. So
Mhm.
when you're looking more on the lighter side of support, appreciation, gratitude, joy, then you'll receive more of that. Then that's spirit saying, yes, here's more. Ask and you
Mhm.
shall receive, right?
Right. That's what spirit is always showing me, especially when it comes to when my clients are feeling lost. You know what the funny part is though, is typically I tell them something that's what I was thinking, or that's what I was feeling. And I'm like, huh. Well, so
Yeah.
you were already receiving this message long before I gave
Yes.
it.
You're
So
just
it's
there to
almost,
validate it,
yeah,
right?
it
You're
is
there to
just a
bring it
validation.
forward.
And
Yes.
so I feel like I'm always giving people news, but it's always just validation. Typically, it's not new news. I mean, sometimes there's like, oh, your daughter's having a baby. And she's like, she is? And I'm like, yeah. And they'll call me and say, oh my gosh. Yeah. You know, one time I was at a group reading and I looked at this girl and I said, well, your dad says congratulations on the baby. And she said, And everybody, that was a big group. Everybody looked at her like, what? And she's like, oh my God, I was going to tell you guys later. And I was like, whoops,
It's out of the bag. Yep.
whoopsie oops. Yeah, it just happens. So that was interesting. But no, like typically people know. Yeah. So it's amazing to be able
Yes.
to validate those things. It's really it gives me a lot of, I'm just very grateful for it. Mhm.
Yes, and that's what I love working with you too, is that you're so, like you said, laid back, very easy to approach. It's like, well, let's see what shows up today. It's there's nothing, no pressure or anything of that nature.
Right. Yeah,
That's what
I'd
I
say
I love about you, Marcia, and
thank you.
your approach and how you are that bridge for spirit to come through to give us guidance and support, and it really helps to ease um, you know mental frustrations or uncertainties that we're going through. So I do really appreciate you being here with us. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just wanted to add one thing is that as I'm going about my journey, and like I said, it's not always I can read for other people, but reading for yourself or being able to uh be intuitive and guide your own life. Well, that is really my goal. But let me tell you why. I'd been given the name Nika several years ago. And so I looked it up, and Nika means in a few different languages, just to kind of sum it up. It was one who leads someone to victory, the
Mm.
truth. And I was like, well, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want to do. So I went by Nika for a while because I felt that was appropriate. It's also my mom's, in honor of my mother, whose last name was Nikolic. But I actually was it last year, my guide said you are no longer to go by Nika. And I'm like, what? Wait, my website's that, my business card, like everything. And I was like, okay. And they said you are to have everyone else lead their own Nika life.
Oh,
So I guess it made sense to me. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm here to lead others to victory, who I want them to lead others to victory as well. Through living through your truth, living through your heart.
yes.
And so every step that I've taken in this career and in my purpose has been exactly that. You guys have to understand that living your truth may at first seem like a scary thing, or maybe you don't know what your truth is. Well, often you just need to look to what it is that you love and what you love to do.
Mm.
And honestly, I get a lot of clients that say, I don't know what that is. And I'll just say, take it one day at a time. Do
Yes.
what you feels right within that moment. Live in that present moment, and it will come to you if you're living your truth, if you're living in vibration of love. If some of you feel you're stuck in certain jobs and things like that, or relationships, take one step in the right direction, go to work and decide what it is that you do love about it, connect with that. Maybe somebody sends you funny memes throughout the day, or you've got a coworker who makes you laugh, or you enjoy the fact that you work from home, but you just don't, you got to find the pieces that you do enjoy, and then make tiny transitions. Well, for me, I didn't just jump into doing readings and quit my job. I still did my job, but then I did, the readings on the side. I did them the nights and weekends. So I feel like that was me dipping my toes in the water per se.
Yes.
So you have to just take a step in, like I said, living from inspiration and not obligation. The more you are
Mm.
inspired to do whatever it is you're doing, the more you're going to get of that. I want you to do the things that help, that you lose track of time when you're doing it.
Yes.
That's it.
That's when you know you're in the flow. That's when
Oh,
you know
you
it,
know.
everything's, yeah,
And
just
maybe
flowing. And
exactly, maybe you are going to do a quote unquote normal job, but if your life is filled with other things that you love, you're going to go to that normal job with a different vibration. You're going to run into
Mhm.
people in a different way. People are going to approach you differently because your vibration is higher. and people are going to
Yes.
feel that sense of love. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes. I know
Also,
what you're saying.
yeah, and
And then spirit will be able to connect with you easier, and you'll get those
exactly,
validations and
for
things will
sure.
flow easier. And for me, the gratitude, acknowledging when you see those signs
Hmm.
and feeling that gratitude and joy, love, whatever that is for you, filling your heart and saying, thank you. I
Hmm.
appreciate this.
Hmm. Hmm.
So then spirit universe is going to say, oh, they like more of that. Well, here you go.
Exactly. And a lot of people might actually like what they do, but they're doing too much of it. That's another part I want to bring up because it's been coming
Oh,
up a lot lately. People are getting
mhm.
burned out. They don't have the right balance. You have to have balance. And,
Yes.
and having the balance is going to make you enjoy things again. Like somebody who's an artist and their job has become just drilling it and getting it out there, drilling it and getting it out there, getting it out there. They're not really putting their heart into it
Mhm.
anymore because maybe they were over demand or they have. Do you see it? I don't know how else to explain it. It's more so
Yeah,
like you have to go back to the roots of why you started doing it in the first place. I
exactly.
just talked to somebody who's a chef, and they just said, "Yeah." I said, "You used to love it, didn't you?" And they said, "Oh yeah." And I says, "Well, where'd that go? What happened?" And they said, "Well, it just it's just been a lot." And I said, "Okay, you need to
Mhm.
find that balance again. So set your boundaries and decide
Yeah.
what that looks like. You have to feel what you want in order to
Yes.
receive what you want. You see."
Yes. I'm all about that. I'm all about that. And
Mhm.
this is just a tip of my experiences of when things start showing up at once and we get overwhelmed because the mind is asking, how's this going to happen, and looking for the end result and all of those
Mhm.
things, and we get
Mhm.
overwhelmed. I pause, I find that center point within myself. That's another episode I have out there, finding your center point. And I remind myself, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've put out there. So a
Mhm.
lot of people, especially, let me give you an example, people getting married, right?
Mhm.
They're excited, they're engaged, and then all of a sudden this avalanche of all these tasks and planning and making it perfect and all these things, right? They lose it. They
Mhm. Mhm.
literally forget the joy and love of the ceremony of coming together and bonding, and it's all of love. And it
Mhm.
becomes a chore, it becomes something that they have to do in order being and being happy and appreciative of having the opportunity, right? That's what
Right,
it's all
right.
about.
Mhm.
Yes.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
before we leave, Nika or Marcia, um, any last few words of advice for those who are still trying to navigate their journey with connecting to spirit? Just really quick, a few minutes here.
Sure. Let me just I'm gonna pull a card.
Oh,
I'm gonna pull a
lovely.
card and see what does spirit have to say exactly, and then I can of course elaborate my own.
Yes. And while you're pulling that, I want to remind everyone that no matter what or when you see or listen to this message is still holds true for you.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, funny.
What
Choosing
is
your
it?
path. All
Ah,
is possible.
yeah.
Yes.
So really quick, because we just have a few more minutes here.
Sure. I just want to say that choosing your path, a lot of times, if you are unsure and uncertain of how that path is going to look, I want you, again, I'm going to repeat this. I want you to feel what that looks like to be able to um, have what it is you want. Like, not exactly, you don't have to be in detail about physical things, but how do you want to feel? I want to feel happy. I want to feel free. I want to feel
Mhm.
no judgment. I want to feel inspired. All of those things that you want to feel. I want you to sit there for a few minutes a day and feel what it feels like to feel those things. I used to have a vision board. And when I had this vision board, it was before I
Mhm.
graduated grad school. I had on there that I was single mother for 10 years, by the way. So I wanted a husband, I wanted to graduate, I wanted a new car, I wanted a new phone, I wanted to eat better, I wanted to be healthy, I wanted, all of these things. I had this board, and it sat on the far side of my bed. I used to stare at it at night, a couple minutes, just every night, and just feel and go through each picture and feel what it felt like to have them. I had a couple holding hands. I couldn't see the couple. I could see was the hands that were being held together, and the unity, the partnership, and I would feel what it felt like to have all of those things. And within 6 months, I had everything on that list or on that board. So I want you to know that it works. I cleared out a space in my closet for his things, just so it energetically felt like there was this space that I was ready. And the universe listened. And I've been married now for 5 years to my husband, and we have a beautiful baby girl. And so I just want you to know that it is possible for you to be able to find your truth, because it's already there within you. Actually don't need to go seeking for it. It's there.
It's within ourselves. Yeah.
Yep.
So
yes,
when we look at other people and see what they have or see their lifestyle or what have you, and that creates that disconnect from ourselves, it may inspire you to say, oh, wow, I really love how Marcia talks about this and how she easily just kind of flows through this.
Yeah.
Remember that we're all mirrors of each other. And so what we're witnessing in the other person is actually an aspect of our own selves.
1,000,000%.
So being able to realize that it's not from lack or, oh, but Marcia's over here, I can never be like that, or April or whomever, Oprah, or, we put these people on pedestals, and really we're all connected, as we talked about before. So really focusing on those aspects, what intrigues you about that other person, or what you admire about that other person, and know that's already within you. It's just finding that, as in, so without.
Exactly.
So,
Choose
thank
your
you,
path.
Marcia.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you for being here. And for those who would love to work with you or have more questions for you, what is your contact information?
So they can contact me through my website, which is mynikalife.com, mynikalife.com. And they can just contact me. There's a contact page, and that's how it'll work. So I'd love it. There's also a place where you can schedule either a virtual reading or an in-person reading here in the Des Moines area. So yeah.
Wonderful. Yes.
Okay.
Keep shining your light, my friend. I am so excited that you were here and able to offer support and guidance for those who are interested in learning more about connecting with spirit. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again, April. It was amazing. I love always talking to you. So thank you for having me.
It's mutual. Yes, we could go all day.
Right?
So,
I know.
Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
Have a wonderful day. And everyone that's listening, please just believe in yourself and know that anything's possible if you just trust, believe, and let go of your fear, and do that by just being in the present moment.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Be well, my friends. And also stay tuned for our second episode, and continuing with Spirit Speaks. Take good care.
Bye-bye.